AI coding agents edit files and execute system commands. However, giving them that autonomy often requires exposing your host system and API credentials directly to the agent's environment. We can resolve this conflict by deploying the Pi coding agent inside a Docker Sandbox, a microVM designed to isolate the agent from the host. Setting this up requires three things: a Docker account, an Anthropic API key, and a standard system terminal. By the end of this tutorial, you will have an agent that can write and edit your project files while remaining isolated from your actual API credentials. First, download and install the standalone SBX command line interface for your operating system. This is a standalone tool. It does not require Docker Desktop to be running on your machine to manage the sandboxes. For those on Linux, ensure your user profile is added to the KVM group. The microVM requires hardware virtualization access to boot. Once installed, run the login command. This opens your browser for a standard Docker OAuth flow to authenticate the CLI. After logging in, the CLI will prompt you for a default network policy. Select the balanced option. This policy is a core part of the isolation. It allows necessary traffic for things like package managers, while blocking all other outbound requests by default to prevent data exfiltration. Before we start the agent, we have to provide the Anthropic key. In Docker Sandboxes, global secrets are injected only at the moment of creation, so this step must happen before you launch. Use the SBX secret set command. This stores your Anthropic key in your operating system's native keychain, keeping it encrypted at rest. Here's how the key is protected. The host machine retains the secret, while the microVM receives a placeholder. When the agent makes an API request, a proxy service intercepts it and swaps the placeholder for the real key before it reaches the internet. This architecture allows authenticated calls to Anthropic. Because the real key never enters the VM, the agent can never read or leak it. To launch the agent, run the launch command. The hash fragment, #dir equals pi, tells the CLI which subdirectory of the Kit repository to use for configuration. The first run will take a moment. The sandbox needs to pull the base image and install the Pi agent packages through the network filter. When the install finishes, you will see the Pi terminal user interface. The sandbox has now mounted your current directory as its workspace. Try giving Pi a task. Ask it to generate a new script file within the repository. Even though the agent is running inside the microVM, you will see the new script file appear in your local directory on the host machine. Now, let's verify the security boundary. Open the sandbox's internal shell to check its environment variables. Echo the Anthropic API key variable inside the sandbox. Instead of your secret, the terminal returns the literal string proxy managed. This is empirical proof. The agent actively writes code using the API, yet it is completely blind to the credentials powering it. You can also provide permanent instructions to the agent. Simply add an agents.md file to your project root, and the PyKit will automatically read its rules and conventions from there. When you are finished, use the SBX rm command. This deletes the sandbox, the internal packages, and the microVM. Removing the sandbox destroys the environment, but all the code the agent generated remains on your host machine. Docker Sandboxes turn autonomous AI agents into a secure, disposable utility that operates entirely on your terms.